So our plan for today is I'm going to begin with a review of the basic workflow for getting started on a project, opening up QGIS and running through all the settings to get you started to make a map such as a matricule court. And I'll have you practice that. And then once we go through that, then I'll start to introduce some new material. I will make this recording available again, like last time. So after we go through the workflow review, I'm gonna show you how to load a WFS, VFS layer from Dataversuning or Datafordela, select features from that layer and export it so that you have a local copy. We'll then look at styling data layer, just some simple styling. And then I'll show you how to create a new layer. So for example, if you're going to need to create a Bugalinia, I'll show you how to create that new layer on your local machine. And then we'll go through how to digitize the new features and show you some tricks, because I know the Bugalinia have to be specific distances from certain features. So I'll show you how to accurately create that. And then we'll finish up showing another nice styling trick that can be useful for the kind of the front page of a plan, highlight where the plan is located. And then we'll finish up with Placering I Kommun to show you how to make that map that shows where the plan is located within the Kommune. So I will give you tasks throughout this. I'll introduce things again and then give you some time to complete the task with me and Bjorn to help. And again, ask as many questions as you need. And so I'll be also giving you the PowerPoint slides from today and some step-by-step instructions. And we'll take a break at the top of the hour, each hour. So getting started with QGIS, does anyone remember what the first step is? Obviously, you have to open QGIS first, but after you have
Good. Important step.
Yeah. Creating a new project.
Yes, open from template. So you have project templates. So the next step would be going to the project menu, and on the project menu, you'll see new from template. And so, for example, today you can open Locale Plane X as your project template, which will already then have layers loaded into it. So once that is open, there's this step of having to set the plane ID in the layer filter for the, I guess that's for the plane Grenze layer. So you set the ID to the specific plan you're working for. So it filters that layer so it just equals that one polygon boundary. And the way you do that is you can right click on the layer and you get this context menu that appears. And the bottom item in that context menu is properties. You can also double click on the layer with your left mouse button, does the same thing. It opens up layer properties. And once that layer properties window is open, you can go through to the source tab on the left-hand side. It's the second tab down. And then you'll find this section called Provider Feature Filter. And in the lower right below that is this Query Builder button. and that'll open up the query builder, and you can enter this. The field is Plainy Day, and you want it to equal the value of, in this case, 107.89942 for today. The next step is project variables. So there are these things called variables in QGIS, which store values. So you have project variables that are set up to help automate some of the work. One is locale plane noun, and the other is locale plane numma. And so we can set those to the appropriate values for the project you're working on, and that will help automate other things within QGIS. And this is what that looks like. So with your QGIS project open, and again, you should see this minimal profile as well. I don't think you have to do anything with that, but you should see that. So you go to the project menu here and open up project properties. And on project properties, there's this variables tab. And so there's a lot of variables listed in there, and you'll see locale plane noun and locale plane numma, and you just have to enter the appropriate values for the plane ground so that you're working with. And then you're almost done at that point. Then you can pretty easily create the matricule coordinate map. You may have to adjust the map to the correct locale plane location. So you can do that by right-clicking on that filtered layer and choose zoom to layer from that context menu. So if I go back to that context menu, at the very top of this context menu for a layer, when you right-click on it, is zoom to layer. So you can use that to quickly get to the correct location, and then go to the project menu to layouts and open up the matricule coordinate layout. And it should at that point be pretty much ready to go. There might be a couple of small tweaks you want to make, but it should be ready to export. So I'm going to have everyone walk through this now. And your goal is to get to the matricule coordinate print layout. And so just go ahead and work through this and just ask me or Bjorn any questions you have, or if you forget how to do something, just ask one of us and we can help you.
Cool.
Commander.
Yeah.
Så it's playing the
Ja, så skal der komme en enkelt klammer om. Hvad siger du?
det er minimalt ord. Ja, jeg tror ikke, hvad så med? Ja, det er præcis. Sådan nogle enkelte, så tror jeg, at du prøver at sige test, og så ser vi, finder en. Jo, så finder en row, og så skulle den gerne være. Og så husk at kopiere den, så du får med de andre, hvis du vil have den klar også. I alle de der lag med filter, så man desværre ind og sætte. Ja, jeg vil ikke bare sætte dem med.
Og det er jo så fordi, for nu starter jeg op igen, som vi gjorde sidst, ikke? Sådan, men ellers så kører man jo videre på sit projekt, og så behøver man ikke gøre det først. Så jeg siger, så kan du bare slå ud på den filter, så hopper du direkte ind. Så kan du også, jeg tror, du kan, der var klik på den, så tror jeg, markere den hele. Og der skal du være opstået nogle steder, hvor du kan plan i det.
Og det er flere var det der.
Ja, det er præcis, det ligger meget godt. QGIS selve tilvej.
Ja, det ved jeg.
Ja.
Så kunne jeg give mig, hvor var det, man satte variables?
Det er inde i projekt, og så nede i properties. Ja. Og så nede i variables.
Du bliver lige nødt til at komme herover.
Ja.
Ja. Så nu har jeg importeret på den planlæggelse. Og så siger det hvad her.
Ja. Skal vi se, her der kan du bare trykke ud på filer. Du kan også trykke på ned filer her. Der er forskellige veje ind. Ja. Nu er der touch.
Ja, det er der.
Og der kan ændre det så. Yes.
Og så kan du lige sige test, og se om vi finder en logo. Ja, der er en, så det er fint. Så kan det være fint at kopiere den, så du også kan få den med i andre der, ikke? Så du ikke skal taste ting hver gang. Så man bare kan kopiere det til der også. Okay. Jeg går lige ind og ser til.
Forskellige veje for at trykke på det her. Ellers kan du prøve billedet og vælge en profil. Også komme derind her.
Okay. Det var alt en dejlig sol.
Ja, det er samme cykel, det er okay.
Jeg skal have den så.
Det skal du ikke, der skal ikke gøre det svar. Men i fodslag.
Ser du de her lyd på? Og den hænger
Ostefinger.
Totalt ostefinger. Jeg har vasket, jeg har spillet.
Det er ikke bare en mellemlov.
Men det er det, det er så vildt. Var du inde og sige noget?
Nej, det var det faktisk ikke. Så hvor sagde man skulle lige sætte project.
Ind under projekt.
Altså heroppe i...
Ja. Så det var properties.
Properties der.
Op under projektplanen her. Det der, så jeg kan få det. Men har du sat, hvad hedder det, planlæggerne?
Ja.
Okay. Og du har sagt, apply.
Ja.
Så går du op i banen projekt.
Ja.
Så ned under op der.
Ja.
Så ned under.
Lidt for sent til dig.
Ja, det var
noget forestille mig.
Det er sådan, jeg kiggede det, så jeg kiggede igennem vores, og jeg troede, det var det.
Okay.
Vi skal have nogle gængse standarder, ikke kun i forbindelse med lokalplaner, men når man bare skal have en kortfil af. Ligesom når man trækker dem fra teknisk kort.
Ja.
Fordi når jeg laver dem og skal sætte det hele opsat, så ligner det, hvad du sagt, lort. Det skulle være fint, hvis vi kunne få sat nogle standarder op.
Ja.
Kunne man lave et projekt, man bare kunne åbne og så kopiere et projekt og få sat op?
Ja, det kan du i princippet gøre.
Ja, jeg tror også det.
Altså,
Det er jo lidt forskelligt, hvad vi altså fra.
Jo.
Selvfølgelig.
Regelkender skal jo være standarder, men
vi har alle mulige kort.
det ved jeg godt, men det er ligesom det kortfil af her, altså hotelkortet, det har en fastsat kortramme, og så er der noget tekst oppe og under, og der er så kommune og nogle billeder. Men det tænker jeg, at vi skal beholde os, når vi laver Hvad kan man sige, gængse kortlægning.
Ja.
Ikke, så det er også lidt standard.
Ja, lige præcis. Så nogle gange, når jeg sætter noget afsted, så tænker jeg,
Ja.
det er jo bare et billede med en bil på.
Ja.
Og den eneste grund til at sætte en bil på, er fordi jeg ikke kan finde ud af at sætte det billede op, så tænker jeg, et eller andet skal det have. Det er også signaturforklaring, fordi den er rigtig pæn her, når du autogenererer en signaturforklaring, så kommer der også noget en lang liste op.
Ja, der er en masse ting, der skal ordnes.
Ja, lige præcis. Og selvom man får ordnet alt det, så bliver det bare ikke særlig kønt.
Nej, det er da også bedre. Det er også tidskrævende, hvis man skal lave den samme hver gang.
Ja. Videre, hvis vi går videre, når vi skal ind på at komme tilbage.
Godt ned på den fjerde plan, det hvis du skal.
Ja.
Again. Oh, sorry in there. Sorry.
Det er fordi, det er slet, altså det her, det er det gale.
Ja, I skal op til det der ikke også.
Hvis du skulle gerne vise noget.
So, Kurt, we're going to move forward. Bjørn is going to stay with Annette and Susanne for a bit.
Okay, so is everyone's ready to continue?
I think so in here.
Yes,
Okay,
we are ready.
you're rock stars.
Born
Yeah.
ready. Yeah, let's do it.
Want to fly.
Okay. Jeg så godt, du så rystet på hovedet, Martin.
And does everyone remember how to, once you have the matrikel quote print layout, you know how to export it? Is that, or do you need?
No.
No? So, let me turn on a couple. So if I don't have your exact setup,
Nu fortæller han, ja.
but if I have
Ja.
my,
Jeg skal lige mute. I'm muting, sorry.
okay. So if I have my print layout open and I'm ready to export it, you'll see that there are these three buttons: export as image, export as SVG, export as PDF. So you can choose one of those. You can also find those from the layout menu: export as image, export as SVG, export as PDF, same thing. And so, for example, if you're going to export it as a PNG or a JPEG, you could just export as image and choose the folder that you want the map to be exported into. Give the file a name, and you can choose the type, JPEG, PNG, whatever your preference is, and then click save. It's then going to ask you image export options. And I don't really think you have a reason to change these, but you can always change the resolution of the output if you want it with really high resolution or you can change that, but the default is a very good setting. Just click save and it will export that map. And when it's finished, you're going to get a ribbon across the top that shows you that the export was successful. And this is a link to the folder. So if I click on this, it will open up my file explorer with that exported image highlighted, so I can open it up and preview it. And it would work the same for a PDF. So if I click the export to PDF, you get the same options basically. And you'll get the same ribbon at the top when the PDF is finished. And again, you can click on that to open up the folder, and it'll highlight the exported file. And then you can just open that up. So here's the PDF. And it should look exactly as it did in QGIS. To give meaning?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now we're going to, now that you know how to create the matricule court, that's probably the simplest, most automated map for you to make. And you just have to go through these steps to do it. And so I'll send this to you so you have it. So this is the recipe for creating a matricule court for you. And now we're going to move into creating from Tilly Forehold maps. And these will be more involved because it'll involve you creating new layers and digitizing those. So I'm going to show you how to do those things. And just as another review, we're going to start with showing you how to export data that you get from data Versuning or data Fodila and creating a local copy of some of those features on your machine. And just as a review, I want to remind everyone what the difference is between VMS and VFS. So VMS stands for Web Map Service, and this just serves a picture of a map to QGIS. And so that means you can't select features, you can't change the symbology. And so VMS is useful for ortho photos or other, SCAM-caught base maps. VFS is what you want to choose if you want to be able to select features and export them to your local machine. That's Web Feature Service. And in that case, the actual features are being served to QGIS, and you can change the symbology and select features and all of that. And if I look at the browser panel in QGIS, you'll see these sections in there too. But probably just going to be using data Versuning, but there's also connections to these services in the browser panel. So adding from WFS, I simply go, in this case, to data Versuning, and I want to make sure I choose a service that's WFS, not WMS. And so in this case, I can add Bookning to QGIS, and it adds that layer. And since it's VFS, I can use the identify tool and see all the attributes of the feature. So adding from VFS via the data Versuning plugin is pretty straightforward. Once I have a layer added that's VFS, I can use this tool, which is the select features tool in QGIS. And then I can do this and select multiple features at once. I can click on individual features. And then if I want to select multiple sets, I can select some, and I can hold down the shift key on my keyboard and keep selecting more to add to that selection until I get all the Bookning in this case selected that's within my Planläggerne. So that's how you select features, just using the select features tool. There's another tool that can be helpful. It's select by location. So 3 buttons over, there's this tool, select by location. And this lets me, in this case, select features from Bookning that intersect my Planläggerne. So I can choose which layer I want to compare them to and click OK, and it will automatically select all of those that were within my Planläggerne. So this is a really, it could be a time saver if you want to automatically select things within your area. You can use the select by location tool. And the normal, there's a lot of options for how to configure it for what it's looking for, but you can just use the default intersect option that's checked there. So you really just have to choose the feature that you want to select from and the polygon that you want to select them within, and click run, and it creates that selection. So either way, you can either do it interactively with this select features tool, or you can use the select by location, whichever is easiest for you.
Can you unselect buildings then?
Yes. So let me bring up QGIS. And if I have the buildings added here, if I am using this select features tool, I can click, oops, another little trick is that you actually have to have the layer highlighted over here that you want to select features from. So if I don't have this one selected, if I have this one selected instead, it's not going to select those buildings. I have to have the layer highlighted, and then I can start selecting them. And if I hold down the shift key, I can just click multiple buildings and select them. And then if I want to deselect features, in that case, if I just, let's say I selected one that I didn't mean to select, holding the shift key down, I can just click on it again and it will unselect it. So you can't see that, but I'm holding my shift key down. And so doing that, I can select or deselect individual features easily. If I just want to completely clear the selection, this button here, deselect features from all layers, will do that. So you just click that and it will just clear the selection. There's a little drop down. You can choose to deselect features from just the current layer or from all the layers if you have layers selected and features in multiple layers selected. So that's how you do that. And then if you have a selected set of records and you want to export that as a new layer, you simply right click on that layer, go down to export and choose save selected features as, and it will open up this save vector layer as window. And let me walk through that. And this is kind of going fast. So if I have a series of buildings selected and I want to export these to a new layer, so I'll just do the northern half here. I just right click on the layer, go down to export, and if I choose save features as, it will export all the features in the layer. So I want to choose save selected features as. In this case, I just want the selected set. And the save vector layer as window opens up, and you can choose the format. So the default in QGIS is this format called a GEO package. And it does have some advantages, but you could also choose Esri shapefile or other formats. So if you wanted to choose Esri shapefile, you could do that and click browse and choose the folder where you want this to go. name the shapefile, and you'll see that it's save only selected features is checked there, and click OK, and it will export out this selected set as a new shapefile. People are starting to move away from shapefiles towards this other format called GeoPackage, because shapefiles in the individual attribute column names, they're limited to 10 characters in a shapefile. So these days, you may find a layer that has longer field names than 10 characters being served from data fasooning. And if you save it as a shapefile, it's going to cut those field names at 10 characters because it can't store longer names than that. So oftentimes people use a GeoPackage instead, and it's easy to do. I can simply right click in the same way, export, save selected features as, and choose the GeoPackage as the format. And then I can just save this out as a new GeoPackage. And so it'll save the GeoPackage out, and then it'll also ask me for the layer name, because a GeoPackage can have multiple layers in it. You could have a every new layer that you're going to add for a new project could all be stored in the same GeoPackage. So I can call this Bookming, and it's in my demo GeoPackage. Click OK. And you're not going to notice a difference. It's the exact same data, just two different formats, shapefile or GeoPackage. You'll be able to do the same things with each. Let me see, I don't know if this had long field names. Yeah, so in this case, you can see this bookings layer does have some long field names, longer than 10 characters. So if I look at the shapefile version of that, you can see it cut them all off at 10 characters because that's all it can store. And if the first 10 characters start repeating things, it'll start going, adding a _1, _2, so that they're all unique. And the GeoPackage will have those as the full field name. So that's the big advantage of the GeoPackage, really, is that it can maintain those full field names. Any questions on that?
I just saw, like, this is just a tip. You obviously know this, but my coworkers may not. In the select feature, you can also select by polygon, and I think that's very nice when you try to select an area.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, you can.
You could show.
Yeah, so there's a little drop-down menu for select features. So I can also choose select by polygon. And this would be another way of getting around having to do the select by location. So if I add the original buildings layer on here and I choose select by polygon, I can basically trace a polygon around the plain grounds like that. Oh, of course I have to have the right layer selected in my layers panel. Yes, that's another use of way. So there's other options here: select by polygon, select by freehand, select by radius.
Cool.
Other questions? I wasn't really going to show for any kind of power users out there. There's also a handy little thing. If you have a selected set, you can use the keyboard shortcut Control-C, and it'll paste that selected set of features on your clipboard. And then you can do Control-Alt-V, and it will create a temporary layer of those those copied features. So that if you just need a very quick thing, this can be another handy little trick. So then in terms of symbology, if you already had, in this case, another buildings layer that had symbols that you liked, you can right click on that layer and choose styles from the context menu and copy the style, and then right click on the new layer and paste the style into that layer. So the copy paste symbols can be a quick way to set up a new layer if you already have a similar one in your project. Other than that, you normally, when you add one of these new layers to QGIS, such as my new buildings here. Sorry, there we go. So if I have my new buildings here, when you add a new layer to QGIS, like you just exported it and add it, it comes in with just random symbols. And maybe copy paste works. But if you want to give a specific symbol, this layer styling panel is a nice handy feature. So if I look at my layers panel, there's a little paintbrush in the upper left-hand corner. And if I click that, it opens up this panel on the right for layer styling. And this is a super efficient way to style a new layer. Here I have my fill symbol, so I could just use this drop down to give it a new color. And if I click this little drop down arrow, it gives me this color wheel, and I can use this to interactively change the color of my features on the screen. So I can choose any color around the color wheel, and then I can choose in there, you know, white, true blue, a darker blue, and you can move your cursor in this triangle to get just the perfect color for the map. So this is a really nice feature for changing just the fill. If I click on the simple fill part of this style, then I can change the fill color and the outline or the stroke color separately. So I could change the fill color to, you know, blue, and I can change the stroke color to a darker blue or something like that. So choosing simple fill gives you control over both the fill and the outline. And then you can choose different fill styles too. There's different fill styles here. So instead of it being solid, you have choices for, you know, for example, diagonal fills, cross hatches, dense 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's a number of just handy fills here that may be useful for you. If you just want it to be an outline, you can just choose no brush for the fill style, and then it will just be outlines. And similarly for the stroke, you can choose a dashed line for the outline or dash dot. And you can also choose no pen, which would remove the outline. So all these little settings are right here in the layer styling panel for a layer, and you can increase the outline width as well. So that's the layer styling panel is a very quick and easy way to interactively set up the symbol for a layer. And do you need to know how to label features? Add labels
Yeah,
to
I
the
guess.
map?
Yeah, I think it's fine maybe to, then it's possible to return and have a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at that. Let's look at that next. But so opgave nummer 2, I'm just going to have you open up the, well, I guess we don't have to open up the print layout yet. We're still working with the map, but we'll get there. We're going to work on from Tilly Forehold. And so I want you to use data fadila or data fasuning to add a WFS layer to your map, and then experiment with selecting some of those records and exporting it to a local geo package and symbolizing it. And this could be any layer. This is just it would be the same process for any of them. So you could add, bookning or anything else that you're interested in, just to experiment with how this works.
Ja, men den bliver ved med at den skulle ikke arbejde. Ja, den bliver ved med at gå til sådan noget alle planidé der.
Nå, det kan godt være. Det er også ændret af det inde.
Ja, måske. Ja. Nå, nej.
Det er jo ikke, det er ikke noget, der skal foregå i en mere projekt.
Meter på. Jeg har sat det her.
Så det er sådan sjovt at bruge
Hvor meget meter et lag fra dæmsen?
Ja, jeg tror endnu, når vi er givet den nu, det er ikke det.
Vi har nogle gange meget gamle lokalplaner, som bruger vejmeter.
Ja.
Og så er det faktisk ofte, hvor vi, når vi gør en ny lokalplan, så går vi fra vejskilt eller fra vejmeter til vejskilt. Så det er faktisk godt at have på det der.
Ja,
Ja.
helt præcis.
Og det er specielt engelsk, nu har jeg jo ikke været der.
Det er inde på dataforsyning. Men det var ikke noget specielt af bygninger, vi har været.
Bare en lille bil.
Det skal være en VFS.
Check.
Så har vi selekteret bygningerne, grupperet dem ind til byggelag, sådan at de her bygninger er med.
Hvor fænger man det?
Det her værktøj her, altså min gul
Hvis du har valgt dem der, så ja, du er inde på det rigtige.
Ja.
Så selected features. Ja. Kunne man ikke, nej, det var for nemt. Det gør også det faktisk.
Hvis du ser den der filter, så vælger du lavet bygning. Så har du et lært, jeg har her, med lag. Og indtil bygningerne, hvor de
Ja.
det var der.
Så
Så er det bare den, og så vælger den der igen. Ja. Så kan du prøve at kigge.
Det er lige meget ud, det er et andet navn.
Ja,
Og
okay.
det er selvfølgelig kun det samme.
Ja.
Arealet, det er oppe i Trylles
Ja,
institution.
det gør jeg.
Arealerne rundt om den der cirkel, eller
de overdrager til...
under foreningen. Det er ikke vores længere.
Nej. Det er kun matrikulært, og det er fordi det først er overført matrikulært, når alt er lavet. Så forventeligt, ja, 23 tidligst, når man er 24, så er det 22, så 24 det overført.
Det forstår jeg ikke. Jamen, er det ikke deres nu, eller hvad?
Jo, men det er kun fordi, vi har en overdragelsesaftale.
Ja.
Men matrikulært er det ikke indgået endnu, det bliver først, når hele skolen skal overfærdig.
Nå, okay, så man helt sikkert, så det står som os, men
Det
det
står
er
som os,
egentlig
men vi har ejerskabsmæssigt, altså juridisk er det deres.
under en forening.
Ja.
Okay, tak.
Og i forhold til udvidelsen, eller det er pavillon,
Yes.
ja, vi kan ikke gøre noget uden ejer.
Det var nemlig det, jeg skulle.
Ja.
Tak.
Kurt, do we have 2 seconds?
I do.
Because I just had another meeting that got cancelled. But anyways, so I haven't really been in the first steps to adding a VFS layer.
Oh,
I've
okay.
added it buildings as the rest of the guys here, but when I have to select records, how do I do that? Can you show that to me?
Yes.
Because it doesn't seem to work like like it's supposed to.
Okay. So I have a bookning layer from data forsuning. And so you can see if I hover over it, you can see this is a VFS layer. So if I have to first have this layer highlighted that I want to select features in. So select it here so it's highlighted in blue.
Mhm.
And then you can use this select features either individually or by polygon.
Okay, that's
So-
fine. We have
De werken nu? work?
maybe it's just hit. Features. Which toolbar is it? Because I don't have it.
Okay, let's see, what toolbar is that? I think it's the
Manage layers,
Selection toolbar.
selection toolbar.
yep, selection toolbar. So if you don't have that, you can go to the view menu down to toolbars.
It's just because it was in a weird place.
Yeah, okay.
Mine is in the upper right corner of
Okay,
the screen. Select features, yes. And then I'm gonna click the buildings.
yeah, so you can click on them. And so you can, there's a number of ways to do it depending on your situation. You can use the hold the shift key down and select individual buildings. You can just drag a box like that. If you want to select all of them within the plane ground, so you can use the select features by polygon option. Is the next one in the list, and just outline the ones that you want to select.
Hello? Super. Yeah, great. I have it now.
Good.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
then I just got in a meeting. So,
Of course.
Lærer.
And then once you have them selected, you're gonna right click on the layer and choose export, save selected features as.
Yeah, the Zoom just left. Yeah, he had another meeting, Kurt. Soon,
Okay.
So, yeah, but he will return, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, it's half an hour meeting. But I think you are ready.
Yeah.
You know, with the ladies.
so it's the top of the hour. Does anyone want to
Yes,
take a
we're
break?
here.
Short break, yeah.
Yeah,
That's nice.
so let's take a break, like
Yeah.
hey, 10 minutes, and we'll come back at 5 after
Okay.
10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah, we're ready here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm
We
gonna
have a-
start. Yeah. What was that?
I have a question, Kurt.
Hmm.
If you would show something so we can return and have a look at it later on if we can't remember. When we are entering the layout of the matricle court, and if we have the situation that it's not zoomed to our plane grense,
Hmm.
would you just show how is it smart to proceed then?
Yeah, of course. So
Thanks.
if I have my plane granza, what I do typically is make sure in the QGIS main QGIS window that I'm zoomed to my filtered plane granza once I set that before I get into the print layout. So after you've set the filter on your plane granza, then you can simply right click on it and choose zoom to layer. And that will get QGIS zoom to your new filtered feature, the plane granza. So right click, zoom to layer. Because once you set this filter, the layer only exists, only consists of the one plane granza that you filtered for. So zooming to it will zoom right to that feature. And then if I open up the print layout, QGIS should zoom right to it, but if it does not, what I can do is select my map in my print composition so that I have these handles around it. So it's the selected item on my print layout. And then item properties is where you want to look. And you'll see these, when you have the map selected, you see this little toolbar at the top of item properties for the map. And this first one will set the map extent to match the main canvas extent. So since I've zoomed to my layer in the main QGIS map canvas, if I click this, it will put my print layout to the same extent as my QGIS map canvas.
Perfect. And then as well, there was this the situation where your map is not updated. It's not corresponding to what you have in your main canvas as well, just for the instructions of that. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so there's this button up at the top, refresh view. And sometimes you have to click that to make QGIS to redraw the map. Because sometimes it's QGIS just doesn't update the map with all the settings you have. You've done everything right, but you just have to refresh it for it to look correct. Is that what you're thinking of, Bjorn?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks.
And
we
that
talked about and wanted to add it to the instructions as well here in the recording. Thanks.
and you'll see on this little toolbar on item properties, that same update map preview is there. And so you also, there's a couple other little things you can do here to fine tune the map. There's this button on this toolbar here, the toolbox toolbar, which for me is off to the right. I don't know if yours is here, but this is how you add all the different things to a map. And there's a button that says move item content. And if I select that, I can slide the map around in the map frame. And so I can basically, pan the map and, get it perfectly centered the way I want it to look. So that's a little fine tuning step you can take. And then sometimes you may also even want to zoom in a little bit. So, I'm zoomed into the Planläggerne in QGIS, but not zoomed in the map as tightly as I might want to be. And I can see my scale is 2007.7. So I could try putting in a number like 1500 to zoom into it a little more tightly. So if you put in a smaller number here, it will zoom in. So sometimes you may want to tweak it just a little bit to get it perfect. You can try that. And then maybe move item content too to slide it. So those are the couple little tricks you can use to perfect the way the map looks.
Perfect. Thanks.
I thought I'd quickly cover labeling too. I think a lot of your main layers are already labeled, but when we start creating new layers from Tilly Forholt Court, you may have new layers that you want to label. And I'm just going to use the Jordstykke to demonstrate this. So if I have my Jordstykke layer here, I can use this same layer styling panel that I showed earlier for labels. So if, remember, it's just this paintbrush icon on the layers panel to open up this panel. And it opens up to this symbology tab by default, but there's also a labeling tab on here. So I can open up the labels tab, and I'll see another thing to pay attention to with this layer styling panel is which layer you're working with. So it will name the layer at the top, and that's whichever layer I have highlighted in my layers panel. So I can select the layer I want to interact with here, and it should change it here. If it doesn't, all your layers are in this list, and you can just choose the one that you want to symbolize or label. And by default, a new layer will just have no labels. So to label it, I can choose the single labels option instead of no labels from this menu. And it will randomly pick a field from the attributes of this layer to label it by. And FID is not what I want to use for labels. So I can click the drop down and find the field that has the values that I want. So I think here it's matrikelnummer. Yeah. So there's matrikelnummer in the list. So I'm going to choose that. And now my Jordstykke are labeled with matrikelnummer. And then you have a whole bunch of tabs here. The first one is just for choosing a font. So you can choose a font you want. And I know the convention for matricule number labels is to put them in italics from what I've seen. So I can choose italic instead of regular. You can choose the color of the label. This is the same way you would choose the color of a layer symbol, same color wheel. So I can choose, there's a standard set of colors below this also. So I could choose black for my labels, or you know, a recently used color like a dark gray that I have for those labels. So you can set that. You can choose the size of the label. And those are the basic settings in here. If anyone has more detailed questions about how to set up labels specifically, I can answer them, but I don't want to. You can do a lot with labels, and I don't want to overwhelm you with details that you don't need to know. So that's the basic way to label features, and it will put them in. If I zoom out a little bit, it may not be able to put all those. The labels will no longer fit within the polygon. So these, you know, there is a scale consideration. So you have to kind of figure out what size font you can use that allows the labels to still fit within the polygon. But that's labeling. And if anyone has any other questions on labeling, just let me know.
Maybe, Kurt, if you imagine that you made some layer yourself and you wanted to label it with your own text. It's not in the attribute table. Maybe just if you would show that it's possible to create your own text in the expression.
Yes, let me let's get to that when we start. I'm going to next cover how to create a new layer, and that would be a good place to show that.
Yep.
So this is for a data set that already has a nice set of attributes to work with. And the next thing I'm going to show you is how to create a new layer. So for example, if you now want to create Bugalinia for this plain Granza, that will be a new layer that you don't have. So to do that, you go to the layers menu, and you'll see this second option, create layer. And you can create a geo package. There's also shapefile and some other options, but I'm going to just create a new geo package layer since that's what we're working with. And it'll open up this window where you define your new geo package layer. If you already have a database, like a geo package is a database, and if you've already saved a geo package, you can choose to put this new layer into the geo package you've just created. So if in the previous step, when you exported the selected set from data Fasuning into a geo package layer, you could create a new geo package layer and put it into that same geo package. Or you can create a new geo package. Either it's the same process either way. So I could choose I created a demo geo package earlier, so I could choose that, click save, and then I can just create this new layer name where it says table name. So I can type in Bugalinia, and then you have to choose the geometry. So I think Bugalinia are best dealt with as lines. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. You can choose point, line, polygon. I'm going to choose line. And then I'm going to choose the CRS, which it should just be in the drop-down menu since your project's already in FEMA 2 Oda Tuatrova. It should be listed here. If it's not, you can use this button to browse for it, but it should already be there. So that's all you have to do to create up a basic layer. And if you want attributes for it.
There's a question, Kurt.
Just a question. What's the difference between a line string and a multi-line?
So here where you see like multi-line, line, point, multi-point, multi-polygon, polygon. It has to do with if you have a, I'll give you an example. So if I'll give you a polygon example. So if you have a communa that has a bunch of islands, part of it, each island is still part of the communa. So that if you could have a multi-polygon feature for the communa where even though it has multiple islands, it's all just one feature in the attribute table.
Oh, okay.
So it's the same with lines. You could have every individual line be its own record in the attribute table, or you could have multiple lines that are all part of the same record in the attribute table, and that would be a multi-line.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So I don't know if you need multi-line. Line is probably fine, but you can choose multi-line.
Hmm.
And then you can add your attributes. So if there are normal attributes for Bugalinia, you can add them here. You would choose the name of the attribute, and then you have to, this is very important, what kind of data that attribute will hold, if it's text or numbers or dates. So are there typical attributes you'd have with a Bugalinia? Plain Gransanama?
Yeah.
Perhaps the distance meters.
Oh yeah, okay.
I don't know. What do the rest of you say?
Yep. We always agree with you, Suzanne.
So you mean that the distance from distance of the line, or the distance from the Weimmitte?
Distance from the Weimmitte.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, you're going to have sometimes it's a decimal number like 2,5. Sometimes it's a whole number. So you might want to choose integer would be a whole number. So you probably choose decimal. You could also choose text. You can still enter 2,5 for as text. So I'm not sure if it really matters in this case what kind of field that gets stored into. You can think about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. If it's I think it's okay. Both would be fine now.
Yeah. I'm just going to choose text. And then the thing that's easy to forget, I do this all the time. It's easy to forget to click this add field to list button. So you can enter the name and the type, but nothing's happened yet until you click add to fields list. You click that, and now you see your new field down here. So that is a common thing to forget. I could also have just add another field here. So you can add any fields that you want at this point. If you forget one, you can still add them later, but anything you're going to use, it's good to just add it right here when you create the layer. And then I'll click OK. And since I chose my existing demo geo package, it's asking me if I want to overwrite that geo package or just add a layer to it. And so I'm going to choose add new layer, otherwise I will destroy what I've already created. So add new layer in my situation. Really? Did I? What did I do? Live demos. Okay, I'm gonna just give it a new geo package name. I don't know what's going on here. Let me see. Okay. So I click OK, and then this new layer is just going to appear in your layers panel. So this is a brand new layer. So it has no features, and it has no, just has default symbols. So I'm going to drag this to the top here, my new layer. And sometimes what I like to do is just give it a basic symbol now before I've added features to it. So I can use the layer styling panel to go and give this a nicer symbol than just this gray line that it came in with. So I can choose a new color and maybe make it a dashed line instead of a solid line. And again, I'm not going to see anything on the map because there's nothing that exists for this layer yet. So I don't know if people have been following along, but I'm going to give you a couple minutes to go just create a new Boogalinea layer right now. If everyone's already done that, just let me know. But I'm suspecting some people still have to catch up on that. So go ahead and work on creating your own new layer and let me know if you have any questions as you go through that. And this is a reminder, you start from the layer menu, create layer.
Vi ser den sammen, tror jeg. Så slipper det. Med app, når vi har den her, så får slet noget business. Så det er app nu.
Nå, det er derfra. Han skal inde her.
Ja, det skriver jeg op i sammen der. Så er det. Ja, så er det lidt andet vej derinde. Det kan godt til at sige.
Så ligger den dernede under.
Ja, det er altid godt.
So how's it going? Any questions?
Not so far.
Okay.
Hvad går vi herinde? Godt. Ja, kom igennem med at lave laget. Ja. I think, Kurt, that everyone is ready, at least here, and I think the
Okay.
ladies as well. All right, Susanne?
Yes, yes, I'm ready.
Fantastic. Okay, so now let's move into digitizing. So this layer I can put in, I have to put it into digitizing mode. I can do that by either right clicking and choose toggle editing, or I can have it highlighted and click this little toggle editing button on the digitizing toolbar. Doesn't matter which way I do it. It's the same thing. We're going to be working with this digitizing toolbar. So again, if you don't see this anywhere, you can go to the view menu, to toolbars, and make sure digitizing is turned on. So this, when you're creating new features, I'm just going to start with some basic digitizing, and then we'll move into some tricks for accurately doing Bugalinia. So with this, and since this is a line layer, I see an add line feature button on the digitizing toolbar as soon as I put this into edit mode. And I can use this to, the way to create a basic line is just to left click. Sorry, I've got my, I have another setting that I was practicing with some other editing tools earlier this morning, and something else got turned on. I don't know why it's still there. Why is that? Why is that on? That's strange. Shouldn't be. Oh, let's, okay. Okay, so let me try this again. So if I want to just digitize a basic line, I left click. And then every time I left click, I add a new vertex or a bend in the. I don't know what happened. Everyone
back. Welcome
okay.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go back. Yeah,
that was.
calm down,
that was-
everybody. Yeah.
That was strange. Okay. It's
We
still,
just kind of panicked a bit.
yeah, me too.
We were left on our own. Ah.
Okay. Share screen. So are you still seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let me just check. Okay. I think we're good. So let me try this again. Okay. So I have my Bugalinia layer. I'm going to toggle into editing, and I see this add line feature button. So I'm going to click that. And then every time to start my line, I left click. And every time I left click, I'll add a new bend in the line. To finish the line, I right click. And I'll see this little attributes window that opens up, which allows me to enter numbers and values for my fields right now. So I could, for example, type in 107.8 0.9942 for my plane ground cinema, and click OK. And now I have a new line feature. And I could do another one and click OK, and I have another line feature. So that's basically how you create features. And then just next to the add line feature button is this vertex tool. And I can use this to look at an existing line and move and edit vertices of an existing line. So even if something is already created, you can edit it with that node tool. So there's another important editing feature called snapping that would allow me to snap these lines to other features and other layers. So I'm going to go to the view menu, to toolbars, and I'm going to turn on the snapping toolbar. So this will have this little kind of magnet looking button, and this is the enable snapping button. So if I press this, snapping is enabled, and I can choose the distance that I will snap to other features and the units, either in screen pixels or in meters. And I can also choose to snap to just vertices or segments, or lots of other pieces of the geometry of a feature. I can choose whatever is appropriate. And then I can start to digitize now again with that snapping. And so now you'll see this little pink icon. So this is basically telling me that I'm snapping to that feature when I get within that 10 pixels. If I increase this to 20 pixels, it will start snapping, farther away from that. So you can adjust this value as you need to. So now I could, for example, I could just digitize a layer and basically trace an existing feature because I'm snapping to it. And so now I have a Boolean that traces the outside of that because I used the snapping tools. So if I turn on now VIMITA, and I see I'm going to turn off the odd sticker because it's getting kind of busy. And I want to create a Boolean within some distance of one of these. I can use this tracing tool. So on the snapping toolbar, there's a tracing tool, and it has a tolerance. So I could set this to 20, which would be 20 meters. And I could start to create a new line. And as I start to do this, you'll see that it's there's a little thin dashed line. I started on the VIMITA, but I have so I'm tracing the VIMITA, but I have a 20-meter offset from it. So now as I start to click down this, it's creating a VIMITA a Boolean that's 20 meters off the VIMITA. And then I can right click to finish. And so now I have this Boolean that's exactly 20 meters. And so I can always use this measure tool to measure the distance. And you can see it's 20,007. So I now have a nice accurate 20-meter VIMITA. That's one way to do it. And I could change this tolerance. I could knock it down to 5 and try another one. And now it's going 5 meters off. And so that's a 5-meter Bugalinia. So that's one easy way to create those lines and a precise distance from the Weimeta. And it's telling me my internet connection is unstable, so hopefully everything is still coming through okay.
Yes,
Okay,
I hear you.
good.
And
And you see me?
I have a view also.
Okay. Another way to do this is by buffering. So I'll show this as well. So if I use this select features tool and I select just a couple pieces of the Weimeta, I can go to the vector menu, to the first option, geoprocessing tools, and choose buffer. And this buffer tool will let me buffer the selected. I can choose selected features of the Weimeta by a specific distance. So I could choose a 10-meter distance, and I could choose an end cap style of square. And you'll see what that looks like. And I'll choose dissolve result. And since I'm just maybe doing this for a quick editing job, I don't need to save it as a permanent layer. I'm just going to choose create temporary layer. So I've just set the Weimeta as the input layer, use selected features, and set the distance. And here I'm also choosing an end cap style of square. And click run. And now it gives me a 10-meter square buffer around the Weimeta. And so I could also use this as another way to create a Weimeta or Bugalinia by snapping to it. So I can start digitizing against this. Oops, I have my offset still set. Let me get rid of tracing. So now I can just digitize around the perimeter of this 5-meter buffer. And quickly create a Weimeta that is 5 meters off those selected, or Bugalinia that's 5 meters off those selected Weimeta.
So what do you recommend if you have a very large locale plane area, like the one you are working at, Martin? That's a very large area and a lot of roads, and that would take quite some time, I think, to make all those lines. So is the buffer method best, or the first one? I mean, what's the quickest one if you have a very large area?
Buffer might be best for a large complicated area, because here's what you could do is I have my buffered layer, and what I could do is I can go into the processing toolbox and let me search for line. There's this polygons to lines tool. And so I could basically convert my buffer to a line instead of a polygon. And then that would be my Bugalinia in this case, or at least most of it. So I could choose
that would be, okay.
And I'm just gonna create a temporary layer for this demo, but you could save this to a geo package or a shapefile. Click run. And now I have, let me turn some of this off. Now I have, this is my new line layer that is a 5-meter distance from that Weimeta. So that could be a way to quickly do a large area.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So let me get into my PowerPoint. Another thing when we're creating this from Tilly Forehold map is to remember map themes. So remember that the map themes allow you to define which layers are going to participate in a map. So here, if let's say I've created my Bugalinia, and I'm going to show you that trick I just used. I'm going to go down to styles and copy this style from the one I had first started with and paste it to this new lines layer that I created. And so let's say I'm done with my Bugalinia and I'm ready to make my map. What I need to do is tell QGIS which layers should participate in my from Tilly Forehold map. So I can turn on the layers that I need. So maybe I need Vimita and this Bugalinia layer and the plain Gransa. And so I could tell QGIS that I want to create a new theme. Click OK, and now I have a map theme for that map. And so if I go into my layout, I could choose the, and Bjorn, you might have to advise me here. I don't know if there's a from Tilly Forehold.
There is a template for that.
Okay.
They have to adjust it. Yeah. So they have to adjust to follow the correct map theme they create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But creating the map theme will let you define which layers are going to be part of that map. So I want everyone now to just spend a few minutes trying to digitize some. You can start with some basic lines just to kind of get the feel for the digitizing, and then you could turn on the snapping toolbar and try this tracing with an offset. You could try the buffer technique. I just want you to experiment with some of these for a few minutes and ask me questions that come up as you go through it. Because this is something that takes a little bit of practice because now we're creating data. So, and I'm sure I went through a lot in these last couple of steps. So if there's something that you can't quite remember how to do, just let me know and I can show you.
Ja, det er det. Det kan godt være. Vi vil gerne gå over til en mulighed fra regnskab.
Ja.
Og det er jo så lidt mere besværligt faktisk. Altså det er lettest at lave kode på regnskab. Hvad er det?
Godt for at få ind her. Fra et regnskab. Altså svarer så til jordstykket.
Ja.
Det kan du godt så gå ind med.
Der er også et lækkert regnskab.
I forhold til det der med at bruge tracking eller buffer, så giver tracking også en udfordring i forhold til, at du har veje som krydser, så laver den nogle sjove skæringer.
Ja, det gør den.
Så det er faktisk kun ved lige veje, og så gør den det kun på den ene side.
Ja, jeg tror godt, du kan sige minus, så kan du gøre den på den anden side. Jeg ved det er ikke sikkert, det kommer, man skal få den anden.
Jamen altså, jeg har lige prøvet at gå den ene vej, men så laver den på begge sider, men problemet er, at så laver den en afskæring igen.
Ja.
Fordi det vil jo gerne møde.
Okay. Prøv at sætte minus på, og så kører jeg ned igen til noget.
Og jeg tror,
Ja.
Ja, det kan man minus.
Super, så følger det på den anden side.
Hvis jeg fylder den her linje her.
Men det er noget mere omstændigt.
Ja. Den her. Den her. Prøv at se. Højre. Ja, det kan jeg godt se. Det ser lidt man kan det bruge. Så kan jeg afslutte linjen før. Så hvis jeg følger den her linje, ja. Nå, den prøver at tvinge det til, at det sidste indtryk skal være det, der dominerer. Jeg kan godt se, at der er en eksempel på mig. Det kan jo afslutning, kan man sige. Ja, så er man nødt til at sige afslut og ny og afslut og ny, og så skal man tage noget væk. Ja, ja. Altså, jeg har ikke siddet og genereret byggelinjer, så hvornår det er smart, sådan med hvad. Det må vi lige sådan definere, så må vi lave en guide, når vi ved det lidt bedre, ikke? Det er vigtigt her nu, at man får lavet sådan en regel, prøvet at teste de her fuldstændig, og så vi får det ind på korte penge.
Så skal du huske at afgrænse inden for det område, du skal på.
Ja, det var
Noget helt kommunen, eller hvad?
Bjørn, Mayday, Mayday.
ja.
Mayday. Vi skal hjælpe herinde.
Hvad skal det?
Bjørn må meget gerne. If you could come and help, Bjørn.
Bjørn is on the way.
Ja, det er godt.
If anyone needs to share their screen too, so we can all look, that you can do that too.
I have a question. Can I share my screen?
Yes, let me stop my sharing. Yes, you should have the ability to share screen. There's a big green button.
Disable this screen sharing.
Okay, now you can do it.
Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Okay, are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
It worked perfectly with the snapping and the byggelinje. But when I'm trying this part here, it goes like this, 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 and this.
Oh yeah.
And you, yeah. I see. I can do like this, and then I can do like this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, it gets messy. That might be. And so those are Jordstykker, yeah? Is that something you would normally do, digitize against a Jordstykker, or is it Vimeta that you're basing byggelinje off of?
Jordstykker as well.
Okay. I might, yeah, it's complicated, but you might do an internal buffer then. I can show you how to do that, because that's with that kind of geometry that won't work. Let's see. So if let me share my screen for a minute again, and I will. Okay, so I see where you were right down here. So I can select some of the Jordstykker, and then I can use the buffer tool, and I'm going to use selected features. And I'm going to put in, if I put in a negative distance, it'll be inside an inside buffer, not an outside buffer. So I could choose -5. And now I have this inside buffer, and now I have to go polygons to lines. And so now I have these are now lines. Right
Nice,
here.
and I can just trace that.
Yeah, and then you
Snap.
could, yeah, and then you could just trace it, right?
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And if you're, yeah, so in that one sense, you're just doing it just to get the Bugalinia to trace off of, you could make those just temporary outputs because you don't need it. You just need the lines to trace against. So you don't have to save it as a permanent file or anything when you're doing that buffering of a Jordstykke.
I have another question, Kurt.
Yes.
If you want to create a buffer for say Vejmitte, but only within the plan ID concept, how do you select feature like that when you buffer? So you only make the buffer within the plan concept.
Oh, well, yeah, we might have to clip it afterwards in that case. So yeah, so I think what you maybe the best thing to do is if I this Vejmitte goes outside the plain ground boundary. So if
Actually, because I thought the easiest way was to set the input layer as Vejmitte, but then it takes the whole commune, but
yeah,
you only
yeah.
want feature inside plain concept.
So what I would see.
If at all possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm just thinking of the cleanest way to do it. I'm going to give you two options. So one option, there's a tool called clip right below buffer. And that just will cut features to a polygon boundary. So I could clip the Vejmitte to my plain ground. And then if I click run with the input being Vejmitte and the overlay layer being plain ground, I'll get a copy of my Vejmitte that is clipped to the plain ground. And so let me,
For that. Oh, perfect.
I can,
And then I can make a buffer for that. Clip. Flat, run. Got to join.
so if I that's now cut to the plain ground set. And if I buffer that, I still may need to.
And when you want it to join to be one polygon instead of a lot of small polygons, how do you make that setting? That must be in the join style. You have the round, you have the meter.
Oh, you're talking the buffer. You click this dissolve result.
Solvers.
It's near the bottom, right where you would save the output. I have my cursor over it on my screen. Okay. So in the buffer tool dissolve result, and it will, where buffers overlap, it will merge them into one polygon.
And then you actually have to clip that buffer layer as well because it goes beyond.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was beforehand. I don't know if it's easier to clip the Vejmitte first or just buffer the Vejmitte and clip the buffer after.
Yeah.
But clip is how you'll do it either way. Unfortunately, buffer and clip are very easy to use, so I have a feeling you'll get very familiar with them.
I think so too.
Because yeah, these Bugalinia are complex.
So can I share my screen for a second because it does some funny stuff. A few joints. How do we do this? Share screen. So you see up here, there's some funny angles. You know why?
Oh, well, this.
You can see the buffer. It comes from here, but when you have the line in it,
And you buffered the Vimida?
I buffered the Vimida.
I don't know why that.
Within-
Yeah, why would that little triangle be there? That's weird.
You have these lines as well. So the end product looks like this.
Well, you're only using that. You can basically you're just using this to trace your Bugalinia. So
Yeah.
I don't think in most cases that would matter. You can just ignore the little triangle. I don't know why that. That's interesting.
It
I
should
don't
have
know
just
why.
gone up here.
Yeah, it should exactly. I makes me wonder if there's a little geometry error in the Vimida. Like if there's just a at that corner of the Vimida, if there's just even a 2 millimeter gap in the line, QGIS might see it as. So there could be something with the data that's causing that to happen.
So the horizontal line here doesn't exist.
Because yeah, it could be just a tiny gap.
That's what you have to figure out. That's not used.
Because so the data, even though it should be well constructed, isn't always. And you will find errors in data sets when you start doing things like this.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But I still think that buffer should still allow you to snap against it and create that Bugalinia in that area. I still think it'll work.
Yeah, sure, but you have to do it manually.
Yeah.
Not here.
Yeah.
That's the funny places.
Det ved jeg ikke, om den 10.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it possible that after I've created a Bugalinia that I can change the parameter of the distance?
Oh.
So if, for example, I'm in a meeting and we say, oh, well, let's see, it's not really 10 meter Bugalinia, it's a 5 meter Bugalinia or 2 meter. Is there a quick way to do that?
A quick way to do it. I don't think so. Maybe what you do if you anticipate that happening in a meeting.
I've tried it happening, so.
Yeah, maybe you just create a 2.5 meter buffer, a 5 meter buffer, a 10 meter buffer, and you have all these different buffer lengths for the Vimida so that you can quickly edit something to match a different distance.
Yeah, so it's prepared within the file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is.
Oh, you with the things you need to buffer around, so you can quickly make a buffer.
Yeah.
Så hvis du afgrænser det veje, så ligesom jeg gjorde afgrænset inden for planområdet, så kan du hurtigt gå ind og lave en ny. Så man ikke går på hele området.
Ja, lige præcis.
So there's another tool called a multi-ring buffer. And can you see my screen? Yeah. So I could, here's my Vimida that's clipped to the Planggrenze. And so I could create a series of buffer rings, and I could make them 2.5 meters apart. Click run. Oh, I should have clicked dissolve. Doesn't have why doesn't it have dissolve? I thought this tool would dissolve. That's annoying. Maybe it won't work, but I was going to show you, you can create like a whole series of buffers that are 2.5 meters, in this case, away from the Vimida, but it didn't really have the other settings, so it doesn't really work so well. So I think we need to forget that. It doesn't have the square end cap, and it doesn't allow you to dissolve them, so it gets a little messy.
But it's possible to change the symbology for that, so you have color
Yeah.
graduating.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So I could go into layer styling, and I'll show you how to do that. I would go to graduate, or I guess it probably has an attribute. So categorized, and going down to distance and click classify and choose a good color ramp. And so you could symbolize this to show a series of distances from Vimida, but since it's not dissolved into one feature, it's kind of funky looking. It'd be much better if it was all dissolved.
And it isn't a possibility in the advanced features. I saw a button called advanced when you try to create the multi-ring buffer. At the bottom, a drop down.
Yeah,
No, not really.
That's there for all QGIS tools, and that's just
Yeah.
other things.
You could use the dissolve tool afterwards, but then it's a two-step. But
Yeah. I was thinking of that. Let's see what it does.
it's possible. I think as well, when I get more experience with how is it easiest, as I see it, maybe it's possible to create a tool or something that is available for you, so you don't have to, if it's two tools, we put them together in a toolbox, and then you can just run that tool maybe. So we'll figure out how, but at the moment it's important that just to know these steps. It's possible. There's buffering, there is polygon to line, it's possible to do it, tracing with offset, and then we have to figure out in specific projects what works, and maybe we'll in the end find out that this is the best way.
Exactly. This is advanced QGIS.
Yeah, so
this-
there could be, Bjorn, you could set up a model tool that would string a couple of these tools together in little workflows that everyone could have access to, and it would make it quick and easy.
Yeah.
You should have monthly brush up meetings. Just now.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening?
Or weekly or daily. Brush up.
Force
Well-
ourselves to you. Otherwise, just forget. We've had most of this before, but I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the Boolean is definitely not a straightforward thing to create in all those different, there's so many little scenarios where it could get complicated. So, but I do think some of these basic tools with the buffering and the offset will get you through most cases. So how are people doing? Do you want to keep experimenting this for a few more minutes? We have time. I think we're doing good on time. Or do you want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah. A break?
I've had plenty of breaks.
Yes. Let's take a 5-minute break and come back at.
Yeah, just a short one. Thank you.
skal spørge om en lille anden. Jeg har en lille interval, og så skal jeg de andre, jeg kan sidde og kigge på det.
Ja.
Du skal jo ikke have.
Er det mig, du spørger? Eller er det Kurt, du spørger?
Det er sådan set lige meget.
Ja, skal lige komme.
Jeg skal lige finde den først.
Ja. Nu har jeg lavet lyden værre på, ikke? Så ser vi, om den optager stadig. Så kommer han med på optagelsen. Ellers så gå op i, hvis du har noget, du har haft recent, er det en QGIS, så kan du prøve at sige open recent. Nu skal du så ikke gøre det, nu lukker den her, men så kan du prøve, hvordan det er sådan en touch. Du skal lige,
jeg har touch.
Gemme noget af det her, så ja, det får jeg ofte gjort, når jeg lige det kan være, at den ligger der, at du kan huske det, hvis du har haft i den her QGIS.
Den ligger her et eller andet sted. Det er bare lige, det er lidt rodet.
Ja, så det kan det hurtigt blive,
når man ikke lige har kigget på den i starten.
Ja.
Jeg kan sige,
det er måske i et andet opgave, hvor du så noget?
Jamen det er fordi, at fortsat var en støttetegning. Jeg skal have fortsat en byggelinje.
Okay.
Kan det være fint? Skal det godt være?
Ja,
det gør du bare. Det måtte du ikke. Nå, det var ikke. Fordi at jeg arbejder i 2 versioner. Ja. Det er fordi den her er jo ikke i menu. Så går den ikke ind og finder.
Nej, okay, selvfølgelig, så det er den anden user.
Ja. Sådan set. Se her. Der var en, der hedder Stise i går.
Ja, det tror jeg, der er. Nu skal vi se. Prøv at sige.
Okay.
Det burde, jamen, nu kan jeg ellers så sige, det gør vi sådan. Kan du gøre det, hvis du har en gruppe?
Men der er nok matrikel, skal jeg køre på. Se, jeg har lavet den her byggelinje, men jeg skal have den til at skære. Den her, den skal følge skæld her. Forstår du det? Den skal kunne forlænges. Ja. Jeg kan ikke snappe til det skæld her. Nu kan jeg selvfølgelig ikke huske, hvad det er for en. Det kan selvfølgelig være, at det har noget med det at gøre. Nej, det er en VFS.
Det kan være svært nogle gange med VFS. Det der med at eksportere det så ikke kan være noget at gøre med.
Det siger create layer, så tager vi bare en virtual her.
Okay.
Jeg tror, lad os se på det. Ja, skal vi ikke kigge på det her, så ser vi lige, sådan så vi kan lykkes med det. Man kan i hvert fald godt sætte med et bræst.
Ja, lige præcis. Og det var det, jeg havde problemer med, hvordan jeg fik gjort.
Ja, hvis du ikke kan snappe til den, ja.
Ja, jeg kunne godt sætte en distance, altså en afstand, og på 0 grader.
Ja.
Jeg kunne ikke komme til at ligge lige på.
Nej, okay.
Så
Ja,
man skal,
ja.
Ja, så det der med at få det eksporteret, det kan være rigtig godt, fordi at det står og henter op fra nettet, så bliver det lidt tungt, og det bliver svært.
Okay, er vi klar?
Ja, vi er klar, og hvad med Susanne og Annette?
Yes, we are here.
Okay. So another little editing thing I thought I'd mention is that there are these advanced digitizing tools. So there is both a toolbar that I'm turning on here and a panel. So there's the toolbar, and then I'm turning on the advanced digitizing panel. And that usually goes in the lower left part of QGIS. And what I'm showing here is another way to turn on panels and toolbars. You do a Hoya click, a right click up near the menus in QGIS, and you'll get this big drop down for panels and toolbars. It's another way to quickly turn panels and toolbars off and on. So this advanced digitizing tools can be turned on also from the view menu, but you want to turn on both the toolbar and the panel. And then you can go in and enable advanced digitizing. And it's kind of complicated and it takes some practice to use, but it allows you to set specific distances and angles for features while you're digitizing. So here I'm setting the distance to 100. So it locks me into a 100-meter radius. And then I can set a specific angle, 90 degrees. So you can create very specific geometries with these tools. And I didn't want to get into too much detail with it because it's kind of complicated and I'm not sure how much you need this, but I want you to know it's there in case you need to create specific features. And in the slides here, there's also a nice link across the top to the QGIS documentation on this, because there's a lot of things you can do with this advanced digitizing panel. What I thought we'd finish up with this morning is Fossila build court. And one of the things here I wanted to show you is this cool technique called inverted polygon shape burst fills, or as you have it, an example of this style already in QLab browser. So if I bring up QGIS and I go to my QLab browser, I think it's in your administrative Granza.
It's just loaded in the project, the locale plane Granza. So it's not in the QLR browser, but it's loaded already in the
Oh, okay.
locale plane.
So I'll load it in mine then. So this is the version of the plane Granza that has this inverted styling. And I'll show you how this works, but it could be for the, I guess, the front page of the plan. It kind of allows you to focus in on the plane Granza and still see the surrounding area, but you're kind of focused on that one. So I'm going to show you how this is done, just so that you may have to do it for other layers, or may want to. So here's my plane Granza, and I'm going to use just the stipple roll version of it, and I'm going to just duplicate this so I have another copy of it. And on the duplication of this layer, I'm going to go to the layer styling panel like we've talked about, and instead of a single symbol, I would choose, there's a bunch of other options other than single symbol. Single symbol is what just means that every polygon in that layer has that one symbol, in this case a red dashed outline. And if you, you can choose other renderers in here, and there's one here called inverted polygons. So an inverted polygon makes this the opposite of what it is. In other words, creates a donut hole around the plane ground. So I can choose inverted polygons, and just to show you how this works, if I choose a solid fill instead of no brush, now my plane ground, since it's inverted polygons, is symbolized as everything beyond the plane ground. So instead of simple fill, we have another set of choices down here. So simple fill is the default. And just above simple fill is this option called shape burst fill. And I can choose shape burst fill and choose like the first color being like a black or dark gray. And then I can choose this set distance option. And then go down to layer rendering and make it semi-transparent. So that's how you create that effect. It's fairly quick and easy to do, and you already have it loaded in your project, but just to show you how that gets created. So it's an inverted polygon shape burst fill. So this is where the symbology in QGIS can get pretty amazing, because you can start combining things like this with other renderers to create pretty cool effects. And so here you kind of create a mask around the plane ground, so without even having data for it, you're just rendering it as inverted polygons. And it only takes a couple clicks. So now that we've gone through some of the more complicated workflows with Bugalinia, thought we'd finish up with a couple, just having you experiment with a couple out of the maps you need to make. So Fossila build. So you can, and beyond, is there a map theme for this?
Yeah.
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 So I guess something that should be added to this is,
yeah.
You need to set the map theme to, I assume it's called Fossila build.
But it's included in the layout as well. There is a template of the layout, and it's set to follow that Fossila build map theme.
Oh,
so it should just loading it and work. Yeah. So it's,
okay.
That's,
so I'm just going to have everyone go to the project menu, go to layouts, and choose the Fossila build layout. And that should open up that print layout that you can use and export as the cover of the locale plane. So Bjorn, just tell me if this is correct. If I
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's correct. It's plug and play, and it's to relieve the stress from the Bugalinia production. Yes. Then you just have to save some of the easy layouts to afterwards.
I would like, I don't know if the rest of you needs it, but I would like to get a could you refresh how to when I'm going into the layout and want to export an image or a map, how to refresh the map area to locate my locale plane area?
Oh yes, of course. So you would simply right click on the plane Granta layer that has the filter.
Yeah.
And choose zoom to layers.
Yeah, but what when I'm in the the layout, what isn't called the layout?
Yeah, let me create the map theme so I catch up with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going
Was
to,
mine starting at where the location plane X is
So
pointed
you-
out? Mine cannot find this automatically. I think it's somewhere I need to refresh the plane ID.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
in order to locate when I'm.
so to do that, you would right click on the plane ground Solea and open up properties.
Okay. See.
And when layer properties opens, you want to go to the source tab. Second one here.
Yeah.
And you'll see provider feature filter.
Yeah.
And then,
oh, yeah.
and then click that query button, query builder button down in the lower right corner.
Yes.
And then
Yeah, but I have.
here you have your, these are all your fields. So you
Yeah.
would choose Planey Day. So you would, if I clear out my expression, I would start with Planey Day, then equals.
A plane idea. Where's my input? Yeah. And then I'll have to clear it.
Yeah, so if you already have an expression that you need to correct, you could just click clear to clear it out. And then, so I could hit clear.
Yeah,
And
but
then
I have the right number there. So I don't get why. Yeah.
yeah, let's just walk through it. So if
Yeah.
I click clear, so I should be able to rebuild it just by double clicking Planey Day, the field, equals. And then I can get a sample or click all of the values to find that, or I can
Yeah.
start searching up here for 107 and it will filter the list and double click on the correct Planey Day. So you have Planey Day equals that number. And then click OK. And you should be able to hit test and it should tell you that it returns one
Yeah.
row.
Yeah. But yeah.
Does it do that?
I'll just try and hit test. Yeah. It does
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So Divika.
Then
So
says save and okay. What?
you don't have
Or
to
just
click
okay.
save, just okay. And then okay
Okay.
again. And then you should be able to right click on that layer and choose zoom to layer.
Yep. It's thinking here, but I already can zoom to layer and it shows this area, but when I go to the layout and trying to export it as a map or as a picture or something, it can't find this area. It starts somewhere else
Okay.
in our commune.
So what you would do, so for example, let me try to mimic that. So I'm outside the area.
Yeah.
So then I want to click this set map extent to match main canvas extent button here. So I select my map and then click that.
Yes, I will try that. Oh, but now now it works when I jump to the layout. So yeah, but otherwise it's there. Okay. Oh, typical. Now it works. Yeah. Just fine.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the problem with GES is that, you know, something might be kind of simple, but if you can't remember exactly where where to click or, you know, something you're kind of just stuck until you get it figured out. So I've been there many times. I get it.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the Fossila build court? So the other thing we can work on is Placering i Kommunen. So this is the kind of the locator map for where the locale plane lies in the Kommune. And let me see if I can mimic what you have. Let's see. I don't, beyond, I forget which layers participate in that.
Bjørn is
Placering
just
i-
coming. He
Okay.
has just left us,
Uh,
going towards the rest of the.
I don't think so. I think I need some guidance as to which layers to put in from the
yeah, Placering i Kommunen. I'm trying to remember which layers are.
No, at least jernbane and
Anyway, you guys don't need me to show you. You have all of it. So I think you just need to.
Yeah, we have a template. or
Yeah.
something.
So
Yeah,
open
good.
open your
Yeah.
Placering i Kommunen template, and that should be plug and play.
It works fine.
Okay.
I'm happy to hear.
Yeah, something works. Yes. And it's not me.
You
So
don't
you-
work.
So you
Oh, you
now
don't know. Yes, it's not me.
So now you've kind of made a lot of the different maps that go into a locale plane, and you know where to find those. The from Tilly Forhold will be the most work for you. Maybe the most fun too, if you enjoy this sort of thing. Because you'll have to create your own Bugalinia, but you know how to, the basic tools for that. It'll take some practice. So, I think we're getting near the end of what we had planned on covering. So we have still some time left if people want to review anything else or see something again, or have other questions, or if you just want to spend some time practicing, and I can just ask questions as you come up. Whatever would be most helpful to you.
For Jens,
Yes, a question. Just your advice on, because we, as city planners, we often create a flyvelinje, but we also create delområder, which is a part, it's areas that are split into sub areas. Maybe
Yes,
we should look at that.
of course. So it's based on, do you create this from the Planlæggerne then? I would, yes. Because
Usually it covers all of the plane guns, right? With
Yeah, yeah.
divided into 2 or 3 or more delomorph. Yeah. So there is some snapping and several polygons involved to cover the plane guns.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is how I would do it, and Bjorn, let me know if this looks good or not. I would export this plain Granza and call it Delomrola, and so I now have basically another layer called Delomrola that's created from my plain Granza. And what I can do if I want to start to divide that up into the different areas, obviously based on Jordstuka and other things, I can just put this into edit mode. So I could toggle the editing for this new Delomrola layer. And there are, let me turn on the advanced digitizing toolbar. Yes, there is a split features tool on here. So it's a very useful tool. So the way that works is I would select my polygon, and then I would use this split features tool to basically draw a line across where I was going to cut this into different Delomrola. So I could left click and then right click to finish, and it's now split that into 2 polygons. And I could then have this one selected, and I could split this into 2 polygons. Did that work? No, that's strange. What did it do? I don't know what that, I really don't know what just happened there. I feel like QGIS is acting strangely for me. Let me try splitting that again. I'm gonna try splitting it a different way. Of course, QGIS is acting strangely here. Let me clear my selection.
Some extra live demo as well, so it's bound to go wrong or be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as well, while I just wanted to add that normally, at least it's GIS who is uploading this to Kobe Plane. So it's really nice if you are up for the task to try to draw something, and we have that as a basis. But otherwise, we'll meet up and talk and recreate it and load it up. Right?
I think for now, the precision needed calls for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do something, and we can use that, and we'll check that it snaps to the layers it needs to, covers what it needs, and that's really nice. But that's a help. But otherwise, we'll do as you've done before and sit together and agree where it is, and we produce something and ask, is it correct what we've done? And so we are the ones sending it up and responsible for the data, how it looks. But it is really nice, if you're in the process.
Then you also understand exactly how it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a sketch.
Yeah. So you're very welcome if you're up for the task.
I am.
And just so others know that it's not needed, it's not necessary. It's still us who's uploading them.
And then
Thank you so much.
another piece of this then you might want to do is add the Delomrola numma. So you could put the attribute table into edit mode, and you could add a new column to this called Dale Noma, and I'm going to make this a text field. Click OK. And that will add the new field at the very right side. And I could call this area 1, area 2. Save my edits. And now I can use this as a labeling field. Go to labels, single labels. And I can put that in a bolder, bigger font. I don't know what happened with that thing there, but you get, I broke it into 2 polygons, and now they're labeled with that attribute. And of course, it's also probably preferable to have no brush, and so you don't have any fill, and make the outline thicker. And this, I'm gonna have to explore what happened with that. That's a strange line that got produced in this demo, but that's the basic workflow that you'd use, because now I have the precise Langrance boundary incorporated with the DLM roller. I just cut it where I want it to be cut. And of course, you can use snapping when you're using this tool to split features. This will also honor snapping. So if I have snapping settings, I can use that to cut this precisely. So it's once you kind of figure out how to work with snapping, all the different tools that you have at your disposal will honor that snapping setting. So even the splitting features.
And maybe we can make some sessions as we've done before, where we investigate it as well together. There is this psychological editing where you edit both lines of the 2 polygons at the same time. So if you want to snap, you move them so they're not moved from each other, or you have to move them separately, but you can move them together. But we will have a look at these more. Nice. Yeah, when it's needed. Let's expand the toolbox.
Yeah, this is on the snapping toolbar. This is that enable topological editing, and it basically allows you any shared boundaries to be edited at the same time.
Exactly. I thought of when they're creating the fremtidige forhold byggelinje in the map, they need to add byggelinje. So maybe it would be nice just to refresh. How do you add that in the at least the legend in the map?
Yeah.
Just short recap. I think you showed it last time as well.
Yeah.
Covered it last. Unless somebody else has a question.
Okay, so I should have had a legend here already. So I'm gonna just ignore what I'm doing for a second, and then I'm gonna create a little scenario that you'd be in. So I'm going to
It's actually fine to see that everything is loaded. You have to remove some of it and then add some, and
yeah.
Part of the problem.
Okay, so let's say I have my legend here, and I want the Bugalinia to be on the legend, and they're not there. So I can select my legend, and then in item properties for the legend, I want to click this button to add a layer, and this will give me a list of all the layers in my project, and I can choose which one I want. So I can choose Bugalinia. I think that's the one. Click OK. And now that's in my legend here. And of course, I can go in and change the text to have a capital B. just call that plain Granza. And if I wanted the dielomrolle on there, I could add it the same way. I could click plus and add that to the legend. So the legend is, it's simply a matter of selecting it. And then I had already unchecked auto update. If that's checked, you can't remove or delete any layers. So you have to uncheck this. It's probably already unchecked in your settings, but if it's not, you need to uncheck that before you can remove or add layers. So once it's unchecked, you can just, I can select a layer and remove it from my legend. Or I can click add and add a layer back. So I could add it back. So it's very quick to just add and remove layers to your legend as you need them.
Perfect. Thanks. Is there any other questions or?
Oh, I thought of something really quick. Since we had that distance added to the Bugalinia, and I don't think I filled it in everywhere as I was demoing this. But if I wanted to show symbols by the distance, I can, for Bugalinia, I can choose categorized instead of single symbol. And then I have that distance field that I added when I created my layer. So I can use that and click classify. And I only filled that in for one, but here I have my 5 and maybe, maybe the rest are 10 or something. So you can, if you have that distance field populated for all your Bugalinia, you can use it to choose different colors for each distance or different symbols for each one. And so now if I go back to my map and hit refresh, I think it should update that. If not, I may have to delete and re-add Bugalinia to have it pick up on that change. Minus. Yeah. So now it picks up on the 5 and 10. And even with those, if you need it to have more information, you can click on the value of 5 and type more information in there. So you can make the legend read anything you want.
Good.
Good.
I think people are ready for some lunch.
Yeah. Frokostpause, yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will provide you the recording and the PowerPoint.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tak fordi du lytter til min dårlige dansk uddeler.
Tak for nu.
Ja,
det var rigtig fint.
Det var godt. Ja, tak.
Okay.
Ja.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.